having a will is a legal document to ensure what you want to happen happens at your death. Without it, you're not in control as to what happens to your assets. It could be that the law of intestacy, which is the law that dictates where your assets go when you die, will dictate where your assets go, rather than you saying where that you want them to go. The law of intestacy fixes where your assets go, which might be to your spouse, but not all of it will necessarily go to your spouse if you have children, for example. So it could be that you end up where your house is partly owned by your spouse and partly owned by your children. Is that what you want? And that's an example of how having a will can stop that happening. It could be simple things such as gifts that you want to happen, which won't happen unless you've got a will. Dictating who's in charge of carrying out your wishes, who your executors are going to be, who your trustees are going to be. All those things you can fix by having a will, which without it you can't. And a really important factor is who's going to look after your children if they're under the age of 18. Without a will, you're not dictating that. Someone else is going to dictate where your children go. A lot of people assume that your partner, if you're not married, will get everything. They'll get nothing. They'll get nothing without a will because they're not entitled to it. Even your spouse will not necessarily get everything unless you have a will, because the law of intestacy only gives a certain amount to the spouse. But certainly if you're unmarried, if you're just living with someone, you certainly need a will to dictate where your assets go. A lot of people assume that just because you are middle-aged, young, you don't need a will. In my view, you just need to be warm and vertical and own assets, and you need a will. As long as you're over the age of 18 and you've got capacity, you need a will if you have assets. So don't think it and leave it until you're elderly, because you don't know what's going to happen to you. I would say, obviously I'm going to because it's my industry, but it's vital because I see the people who haven't got a will and the problems that they face, and the stories that my clients tell me of the reason they're now deciding to get a will is because this has happened in their family with someone without a will and the problems that they faced.